Corinne Baker was one of the nicest people I'd ever known, and one of the best divers that I'd ever trained. But she had one bad habit, that of diving alone, in spite of my repeated warnings. She was the wife of Dr. Dick Baker, and being a doctor's wife, she thought she could handle just about anything that came along. But the girl who could handle just about anything was about to meet something that she couldn't handle. She was being propelled strongly in a direction that she didn't want to take. Her kidnappers had a firm grip on either side. She was powerless. Corinne lost her depth gauge in the struggle. It was to bring me as close to death by bullets as I had ever been. Not far away from where Corinne had been seized, I was testing an underwater power unit. It attaches to the bottom of a standard air tank and gives a diver greater speed and range. I was quite pleased with it, and a good thing, too. For in just a short time, my life and the lives of two of my best skin diving friends would suddenly depend on it.
Fancy. How does it work down there for you?
Yeah, it's a cinch. And just relax. It does all my work for me.
Hey, Artie! Come on! What's wrong?
It's Corinne. She's gone.
Corinne? She was out there diving alone?
Yes, and she didn't come up. I was busy cleaning the distributor, and then there weren't any bubbles or anything. She was just gone.
Would you get out and take a look for her?
Well, I only had a faceplate. I couldn't stay down too long, but there wasn't anything anywhere.
Whip me right out there. I'll go like here. Send a follow-up boat, Artie. With some full tanks, and round up as many divers as you can, huh? Oh, and you better notify her husband, too.
Now, wait a minute, Mike. Let's not jump to conclusions. She could have gone up on shore to visit friends. Where'd you say she was diving?
The usual place.
The Gordon cabin is on shore right near there. She could be there, or on a boat with friends. Any one of 1,000 places. Let's not get excited.
I agree, but if we're going to look for her, let's not waste any time, huh?
Go ahead.
And don't spend the horsepower. Remember, this has happened before. Her skill Corinne is perfectly all right. Let's go. Come on, then. The hideout toward which they were heading was an exceptionally inaccessible one, cut off from the sea, usually by heavy surf, screened from the sides by huge rocks, and hidden from the shore by high cliffs. Only divers who knew these waters intimately could find their way into it. I wasn't one of them, just then.
Sir, all right. Morning, Miss Baker.
Who are you? What's this all about?
And now for the 11 o'clock news. Sheriff Samuel Curtis admitted today there is still no trace anywhere of the three daring stick-up men who 2 days ago marched boldly into the Sun Neva Casino, sprayed the luxurious gambling hall with tear gas, and escaped with $250,000. For 2 days, every square mile of the surrounding desert has been combed by jeeps, planes, and even helicopters, but without sign of the wanted men. What has the authorities really baffled is that every possible escape route was blocked off within 15 minutes after the bandits sped away. And yet, they seem to have vanished from the face of the earth. Geneva, Switzerland. A new development...
Every possible escape route was blocked off.
How does it feel now?
It's all right. Just the same, I think we better get started with Madame here.
Mrs. Baker, I've been told your husband is a very good doctor, a man of integrity.
Also a very good skin diver. Here. I want you to write him a message. Say, I'm being held. Come with these men.
Why should I?
Because he's got a bullet in his shoulder, and we're getting a doctor here to get it out.
There's even a better reason. She write the message because she wants to live.
Also, because she wants her husband to live.
Get going.
I had completed a systematic series of broad sweeps through the area where Corinne was last seen. Then, with full tanks, I had extended my search up along the more remote parts of the shoreline. My power unit gave me tremendous range, but I had seen nothing. I was beginning to think that maybe my friend on the pier was right, that Corinne probably had left the water to visit friends on shore. I debated whether to call it off, but some intuition urged me to keep on going.
save your husband. Take the guns.
And then I saw something. It was a depth gauge with Corinne's initials. I didn't have very long to think about it. Off in the distance, divers were approaching. I moved quickly to conceal myself. One of the men was Doc Baker, I was sure of it. And he seemed to be under escort of some kind. Or was he?
Time later for tender moments. Right now I've got this piece of lead in my shoulder that's just aching to be removed.
Well, that's reason enough to bring me here. But what about her?
You see, we haven't harmed your wife.
All right, let me take a look at it. Over there, and get that shirt off.
I was moving very cautiously, not knowing what might be waiting for me up ahead or up above.
Bring that bag over here. I want you to lie down and lay your head on this bag. You'll have to help me, honey.
One thing, Doc. I can take the pain, so no anesthetics. They dull the senses. I won't mind keen. You better not make any mistakes. They say they bury a doctor's mistakes. I promise you, make one, we'll bury the doctor.
Bone injury. You're lucky. It should heal very quickly.
Thank Thank you, Doctor. It feels very good.
We did what you wanted. Now let us go.
Have patience, Mrs. Baker. Patience.
How do we know you will let us go?
You don't. All right, get over against the rock so I can watch you. Go on. Come on.
I had seen Doc Baker desperately slipping a couple of rocks into his bag. Anything that he tried that way might be sheer suicide. I would have to distract them quickly. An underwater flare might do it. They wouldn't know what to make of the smoke or where it came from. If I was in luck, one of them might even come down to investigate.
I don't know. Better check it. If you see anything, come up fast. I shut off his air valve. I felt him grow weak. You see anything?
Just bubbles.
It didn't take long to tie him up. I had turned on his air again. Now he could breathe, but not much more than that.
You better get down there.
Right.
Here.
I knew that if the second man came at all, he would be far more cautious. I had left his friend out as bait.
here. Come on, hurry up. Up against the rocks there. Put your hands on the rocks. Lean on them.
I soon had him ready to join his friend. Now there was only one bandit left. I couldn't help Doc Baker very much anymore. But maybe I could give him the chance to help himself. Just a few feet of water can slow bullets down tremendously. I could try to draw the wounded man's fire just long enough for the doc to make his move. I hoped the doc would have the presence of mind to seize his opportunity. Given him a good chance, but nothing had happened. Maybe I hadn't stayed close enough to the surface long enough.
Don't, darling, don't do anything.
Honey, he's out cold.
Mike! Mike Nelson!
Mike!
Mike!
Oh, Mike, thanks a lot. Hello, Mike. Hey, where are those other two?
They're all tied up, about 30 feet down, waiting for the police. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
Every rocket launched into space has a mission. Most important of all is to bring back vital information recorded by instruments in the nose cone. As most of these rockets plummet into the sea, I was called in to assist an advanced experimental unit. My assignment was to recover the nose cones underwater as quickly as possible. After a long search, I was getting an indication on a special type detector designed to respond to directional signals from the nose cone. They became stronger and guided me in. As I prepared to send up a marker buoy, I knew for sure the recoveries were taking too long. I didn't know how dangerous they could be. 3 weeks later, I hobbled into the office of Dr. Bartok, the scientist who directed the XM rocket series of experiments.
Pretty rough getting around.
A little.
Yeah, that was a mighty close call, Mike. I can't hold you to this contract.
Oh, close calls are part of my business. What bothers me is the time it takes to locate the nose cones.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's the record. Average time in 12 recoveries, 14 hours. 6 nose cones not recovered at all.
Yeah, that's the trouble. If we don't find them fast, we don't find them at all. What I need is a new operating procedure.
What else is there to do but to swim down and search for them?
No, my detector isn't doing the job. Let's see now, when's our next flight? The 25th?
The 25th, yeah.
Well, by then my leg ought to be okay. And by that time, I ought to have something new to show you. On the 25th, we were alerted for the flight and re-entry of the XM-17 rocket. We had received initial vectors to guide us from a rocket tracking ship. Our own scanning devices homed us to the impact area. To recover the nose cone of the XM-17, I was going to rely on speed. The boat would get us to the approximate area rapidly. A power unit would give me speed for the underwater search. While I went astern to ready for my jump-off, Dr. Bartok kept watching to sight the splash point. When we reached the impact zone, my underwater scooter gave me good speed. It also enabled me to maneuver freely. But neither speed nor freedom of movement was enough. We struck out on the XM-17. I decided to use a midget submarine as an underwater missile chaser. I gained one big advantage. I could carry additional air tanks in the sub. This permitted me to search underwater for a long period without surfacing. But the sub was slow. I couldn't maneuver as well as I could with the scooter, and my visibility was limited. Despite hours of searching, I didn't find the XM-20 at all. The midget sub wasn't the answer. To achieve the speed and visibility that I wanted, I rigged an underwater sled. I was able to control my depth in the water, but it was too difficult to direct the course of the boat that towed me. I soon realized that a sea sled wasn't the answer either. When the X-24 was launched, I was determined not to fail. I knew that I had to combine speed, maneuverability, and good detection equipment. To attain speed, I went back to boats. We were using a large one, guided visually and by radar, to reach the impact area. Then I boarded a secondary search boat for the final phase. It was a fast outboard with a sensitive metal detector fixed to its hull. The pickup of the device extended into the water on a boom. Watching the instruments for indications as we executed a wide search pattern. In 20 seconds after reaching the area, the boom began to pick up weak signals. As we zeroed in close to our target, my assistant and I headed for the bottom.
Are you certain that you can always duplicate the speed of that last recovery?
Boy, it's all simple equipment. A boat, a detector, and me. Nothing much to go wrong.
All right. In that case, the XM series will be changed to PXM. P for passenger.
Well, if it's all right with them, it's all right with me.
They have to be recovered within 1 hour of impact.
Oh, don't you worry, boy. I'll get you up in time. After a flight through space, Dr. Bartok's mice and the vital information they could reveal were sealed in a capsule inside a nose cone somewhere on the ocean bottom. My job was to reach them before their limited air supply was exhausted.
Let's go.
Dr. Bartok had given me a diagram to enable me to remove the airtight plate quickly and recover the capsule. They had no choice.
That's so much for PXM-1. Next, the white rat. Then guinea pig, rabbit, monkey. I've scheduled 32 flights.
Well, let's hope that we'll have 32 recoveries, huh? In the course of the next 3 months, I accomplished the recoveries as scheduled. My operating procedure was working well. This recovery would be the last of the PXM series. I was looking for a space passenger named Angel Face. We called our passenger Angel Face not because of her looks, but because her flight took her closer to the angels than any animal had been before. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell us about her trip. But through his stethoscope, Dr. Bartok got the story that he was looking for.
Getting through it beautifully. Well, that's the end of the PXM series. 100% success. Calling my next series the HXM series.
Next series? I thought this was the end of it. HXM, what's the H for?
H for human.
Human?
We've been working on it for months in the laboratory, under simulated conditions.
Yeah, no. Doing it for real. Who's it gonna be? The first human?
Me.
Using animals for experiments in space was one thing. But now Dr. Bartok, the director of the rocket series, was determined to be shot into space himself, inside a nose cone. In addition to an air supply for the capsule, he would carry an underwater breathing apparatus of special design for the ascent from the nose cone. I checked him out on it. A new miniature tape recorder combined with a throat microphone would go out into space with him. With this unit, he would continuously record his sensations, his reactions, and all the physiological data which a scientist could discern. This would provide a valuable record for future analysis. His flight was programmed to ascend 400 miles above the Earth and to return to a predetermined sector of ocean. But at this point, I was more concerned about Dr. Bartok than about any data that he might gather.
The target area is this 1 square mile in the ocean right there. What are you worried about?
Well, I know it all proves out, but...
Mike, the underwater ejection is completely automatic. In 1 minute, or at a depth of 40 feet, whichever is sooner, the capsule is ejected from the nose cone by compressed air.
If it works, but what if it doesn't? And you don't come up to the surface?
I will. And you're going to be standing by to pick me up. What could be simpler?
Well, I can think of a lot of things.
One week from today, Monday, 6 a.m.
It was Monday, August 3rd, the most important day in the logbook of the rocket experiments. Dr. Bartok was inside a capsule within the nose cone of that missile. Incredible and frightening, yet it was happening. And it was my responsibility to recover him, alive. We were using the system that had worked well before. But this time, we counted on an additional safety factor. That Dr. Bartok's capsule would be automatically ejected and rise to the surface.
waiting longer.
I realized immediately that the ejector mechanism must have failed for some reason. That meant Bartok's life would depend on his limited air supply. I kept scanning the surface while Noam was watching the dials of the detector.
Minutes.
The sensitive metal detector had done its job, but it had led us to an old wreck. We had lost crucial minutes reaching it. I headed back toward the boat. Only a few hundred yards away, Dr. Bartok's nose cone was wedged into a rocky bottom, but I didn't know it. All I knew was that if he was still alive, he was desperately waiting for us to find him.
Sensation, acceleration. G-forces are within human physical tolerance. Johnville experiments confirmed. Psychological hazard much greater. My sensation, like I was at the bottom of a deep well, with a mile-high pile driver resting on me, pressing me, smothering me. Physiological effects. Stomach sensation. In weightless condition, danger point. Tendency to throw up. Wearing of oxygen mask presents danger of strangulation. More research needed.
Another indication.
Now, there's only 20 minutes left. You better not be wrong this time. Double back, half speed.
On physical and mental sensations, I have nothing further to report. Failure of underwater ejection due to chance. Judging by the angle at which I'm lying, rear closure plate is blocked by ocean bottom. One thing more. Martha, dear, please don't grieve for me. The moon and the stars can be had. If only you're willing to pay the price. I gladly pay my share.
Only 10 minutes left. We had to be near the nose cone. We had to be.
That's it. Here, hold it in. I'll stop.
We had found it this time, but how were we going to get Dr. Bartok out? The cone was wedged tightly on its base. see that we wouldn't be able to move the nose cone ourselves.
Give me a crowbar and a 1-inch line, and attach the other end of it onto your stern.
Okay, Norm, get aboard. You can relay my signals.
Okay, Mike.
By my watch, I have only 4 minutes left. Better luck to those who will try it again.
Grab with that hook.
I attached the hook, hoping the boat would be able to dislodge the nose cone. And in time. The knocking told me Dr. Bartok was alive, but I still had to remove the plate of the jammed automatic ejector.
Perfectly, I'm sure. And with men like you, it won't be long before we'll be on the move. Is it tied on?
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
I was investigating a shore area in preparation for an underwater photography contest. The currents were not too strong and the water was quite clear. I had an exposure meter in a watertight housing to check the light. The light readings looked good to me at all depths. The underwater landscape was fine for photography. It was beautiful and rugged. There seemed to be plenty of marine life, too. I swung around a rock on my way back to the surface. I was surprised to see another diver down here on the bottom. I watched him for a moment or two, trying to figure out what he was up to. All of a sudden, I realized he was in trouble. As I reached him, he grabbed for my mouthpiece. But I saw at once that his own emergency air supply had not been tapped. I pulled the emergency valve, and the air poured into his mouthpiece from his own tanks. As I started him toward the surface, I sized him up. Obviously, he was unfamiliar with his equipment, and he certainly had no business in the water alone, inexperienced as he must be. I couldn't know then that this encounter would one day put me in an even worse spot underwater, without air, struggling for my life. My newfound friend had little to say when we reached the surface. He was weak and wobbly and out of breath.
What did you do? I thought for sure I was out of air.
How long have you been diving?
I'm just learning.
Why didn't you pull your J valve?
What's that?
The lever for your emergency air supply. This. What kind of an instructor did you have, anyway? He ought to be arrested.
I'm his instructor, thank you. Mr. Cap, you had no business going off by yourself.
He had no business being in the water at all. How long have you been an instructor?
Long enough.
You got an instructor certificate?
No.
In this county, it's against the law to teach without one.
Well, I'm sure I can get one.
Yeah. The tests aren't easy.
How would you know?
I helped give them.
I didn't know what I was letting myself in for when I spoke my piece that time. A week later, I started a new class of applicants for instructors' licenses. As I called the roll for the first time to get acquainted with my new pupils, I hardly expected to find a familiar face. But there she was, Gracie Bond by name, and with a look in her eye that spelled trouble. I must say she handled herself very well. She swam as if she'd been skin diving all her life. For a while, I thought I'd been wrong about her attitude. Next came the underwater breath-holding test.
What was my time?
It's about a minute.
Oh, let me try it again. I can stay down much longer than that.
No, that won't be necessary. You qualified.
But barely, huh? You are just determined to keep me from demonstrating how wrong you are and how wrong you've been.
You're the one who's wrong, Miss Bond. I'd like to see you get that certificate.
Well, it certainly doesn't look that way.
She has quite a temper, hasn't she?
Yeah. All right.
The real showdown came when the class went out to the ocean. First, we did routine procedures such as clearing masks and removal of the mouthpiece. Finally, I demonstrated to the class the technique of ditching a tank and recovering it. This is one of the most important tests of confidence and self-discipline for a diver. I had taught them how to rise slowly, letting out air, and to go back down after one breath. We returned to our diving boat. I paired off the candidates for their ditching test. I gave them 2 final orders. Don't go below 25 feet, and under no circumstances, leave your buddy. Gracie and her partner were the first pair down. The bottom I had picked out was no more than the necessary 25 feet down. But close by, it dropped sharply to nearly 60 feet. And that was just what Gracie was looking for. Gracie's buddy prepared to ditch his equipment, while she prepared to ditch him. She was always trying to prove that she was better than anyone else. And a chance to come up from 60 feet instead of 25 looked to her like a good way to do it. When Gracie's diving buddy came up alone and yelled out his story to me, I wasted no time getting into the water myself. Even as I swam toward her, I could tell that she wasn't in any trouble. In fact, she seemed to be doing everything exactly as it should be done. I offered her air from my tanks, but she signaled that she didn't want any. She was determined to make the surface in one breath, and she wasn't going to spoil it now.
Now, don't tell me you weren't impressed. You angry with me?
Anyone who can't take instructions certainly can't give them.
You're not washing me out.
Yes, for the protection of other people, as well as for yourself.
Look, I've got to have that certificate. I've got a job waiting for me as instructor at the new Malaga Shores Hotel. It's the best job I ever had.
Yeah, well, I'd rather you lose your job than lose your life.
Oh, Mr. Nelson, you're a pompous, stuffy square.
We'll row you back to shore, huh?
No, thank you. I'll swim in.
I thought that I'd seen the last of her. That was my mistake. A big mistake. Almost a fatal one. Gracie Bond was the last person on my mind as I rode down the street of a lazy Caribbean seaport a few months later. I was down here on business, searching for some extremely rare sea specimens. So far, I hadn't found what I was looking for. I stopped cold to watch a giant sea turtle hightailing at full speed for the surface. Then I saw the reason for its haste. It was being pursued by a girl diver. She caught up to the turtle and hung on for the ride. There was something very familiar about this girl. She looked like Gracie Bond, and she acted like Gracie Bond. But I figured the island was big enough for both of us, if I kept to my end of it. I couldn't keep to my end of the island. I needed an air compressor to pump my tanks, and the only one available was at the Hotel Carioca, where they advertised skin diving lessons and spearfishing trips, all in charge of Miss Gracie Bond. I hoped maybe that it was another Gracie Bond. It wasn't.
Welcome, Mr. Nelson. I heard you were around asking for an air compressor. You're welcome to use ours anytime you'd like it.
When I turn it on, will it explode?
You know, I wouldn't have landed in this wonderful place if we hadn't had that, shall I say, misunderstanding. You really helped me.
You mean I'm no longer a pompous, stuffy square?
No, you're not. I'm very willing to let bygones be bygones if you are, Mike. And I haven't drowned a single pupil yet.
No narrow escapes?
And no narrow escapes.
Huh?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm truly glad you're here. I've got a favor to ask.
Feed myself to the sharks, huh?
No. I've just located a very unusual cave a little beyond Pirate Bay. Looks like a wonderful place for practice dives. But I'm not sure about letting my pupils use it, whether it's really safe or not. Would you make a dive with me and look it over?
Well, it's not the cave that I'm concerned about, it's you.
But I've changed, Mike. Come with me. I'll show you how well behaved I am.
It's amazing.
What?
What a pretty girl can do to a guy.
Try my back?
I really wanted to believe that Gracie had reformed. And on our way out to Pirate Bay aboard the Chestnut, she did her best to convince me. The fish weren't interested in our bait, but I was certainly taking hers. What she really wanted was to come back home, get her instructor's license, and settle down. Despite the glamorous job she now had, she was homesick. And she was working on me to win me over. She figured that I was the key to getting that license. When we finally anchored in Pirates Bay, I went out to set up our diving raft. Gracie started implementing her plan. That was my air tank she was fooling with. She removed my regulator. Now she put the regulator on a set of tanks, exactly like mine. Only thing, they were less than half full of air. Having exchanged the regulators, she switched the position of the tanks. I'd never know that I was going below without enough air to get back up. I could see that in one way, at least, Gracie hadn't changed. She wanted to be far out in front as she led the way down to the cave. But when we reached the cave, I decided that I had better go in first. It was an interesting cave, but it was narrow and twisting. Certainly no place for students. I hesitated because there were so many obstructions ahead. Then I went on alone to see whether it was safe. All of a sudden, I inhaled and got no air. I reached for my emergency valve. It did no good. I looked to Gracie for help. Why was she standing there? She could see that I was in trouble. But Gracie had planned it this way, not to come to my rescue till I'd really appreciate it. This she hadn't planned, getting hung up herself. Nor this, tearing her air hose loose. Now we were both in trouble, bad trouble. She had air, but her breathing apparatus was wrecked. I had no air, but my breathing apparatus worked. There was nothing to do but try to switch mine to her tank, if we could both hold our breath till the job was done. Gracie, I remembered, couldn't hold her breath long. I worked feverishly. She held on. Gracie, the irresponsible, was at last behaving like a grown-up, despite lungs that threatened to burst and a sensation of panic that could have made her swim blindly to destruction. Her every reaction was the right one. As we finally swam toward the surface, sharing our air, I felt that she had at last proven herself. The truth didn't come out till later.
Hey, you all right? Huh?
You know why you ran out of air down there, Mike? It wasn't a mechanical failure. It was a human failure. I let half the air out of your tank.
What?
Oh, it was a reckless, stupid thing to do. But I thought it would give me a chance to help you and to make you grateful. And instead, it only proved that all those things you once said about me are true.
I ought to wring your neck.
I know. Oh, Mike, I've never been so scared.
Well, good. Maybe that's what you needed. Maybe now you'll take responsibility the way it should be taken. Some people only learn the hard way. They're lucky enough to live through it. Do you think you have learned anything this time?
Oh, I have, Mike. I have.
Well, basically, you have got what it takes. I mean, you came through all right down there when you had to.
Does that mean you're going to give me another chance to try for that certificate?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, Mike, what can I ever do to repay you?
Try my back. Hi there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is certainly a lot of fun, and it's full of adventure. See some more of it again next week, huh? When there'll be another excursion into that fabulous underwater world of sea hunt.
I don't usually go on treasure hunts, but this time I was on a very special one. I was underwater in a West Coast harbor, looking for a fortune in illegal drugs. I was carefully checking the hulls, propellers, and rudders of boats and ships for any possible hiding place. The Federal Narcotics Bureau had an important tip. The drugs were expected to be in a sealed container attached below the waterline to some craft in the harbor. Then I saw another diver alongside the hull of a large ship. It seems that I'd been searching the wrong vessels. This other diver, whoever he was, had beaten me to the treasure. I wasn't going to let it get away that easily. Besides, I was sure that the Narcotics Bureau would be most interested in where he went with it. The diver brought his container ashore at a breakwater. Seemed to be waiting there. My guess was that it wouldn't be for long. I had a wild idea. If I was going to do something, I'd have to do it fast, while he was still alone.
What are you doing here?
Just a moment, please. Sorry. Get up. Let's go this way. What about him? You got the stuff. Let's go.
My only hope now seemed to be a couple of men walking down the beach.
Hi. Hi. Behave yourself. I'll give it to you right here.
What do you got there, Mac? A bomb?
Yeah.
Better be careful. Just go on.
You all right, Mike?
Hey, you cut it kind of close, didn't you?
Sorry.
$500,000 by the time these characters get through cutting it.
Now, one thing about those fellas from the Narcotics Bureau, they always seem to turn up at the right time. Though I wasn't so sure it was the right time when Charlie Keller turned up again.
See ya.
Doing yourself any good?
Am I? Take a look at this.
Hey, that's all right.
Half-hour fishing.
Mike, we need your help again. This time we need it fast.
Oh?
We've got a vessel out in the harbor that's under suspicion.
Yeah?
She docked this morning from Bolivano. We had a solid gold tip, 10 pounds of heroin, $2 million worth of this stuff on board.
Wow.
We searched it from stem to stern. We couldn't find a grain of it.
Check the hull, huh?
Well, Charlie Varick did. You know him, don't you?
Oh, he's a good man.
He didn't find it either, Mike.
Any chance they might have sneaked it off past you?
When they unloaded the cargo? No, I don't think so. We checked every box and every barrel. We even searched every crew member who went ashore, and that means all of them, except the bosun's mate. He's still aboard, taking care of the store.
You think you might be waiting for somebody to come out and take delivery, huh?
Well, that's possible, but it's pretty risky. Mike, she shoves off in the morning.
It's not possible to keep her from sailing some way, is it?
Not just on suspicion of contraband, no. We have to have some proof.
Well, I don't know what I could find that you fellas have missed. But if you want me to,
We do, Mike. That tip could be solid.
Okay. I'll go out and take a look.
I didn't expect to see anything much at that distance, so I wasn't disappointed. I was puzzled, though, by that crewman. What was he staring at so intently? Those bubbles? It just meant that the ship was discharging water from one of its ballast tanks. Nothing unusual about that. Suddenly I realized that it was unusual. That freighter had unloaded her cargo already, so she needed all the ballast that she could carry to ride easy. Instead, she was emptying one of her ballast tanks. Why? For only one reason that I could think of. That crewman wanted to get at something hidden in the tank. Those 10 pounds of heroin that the Bureau agents hadn't been able to find. I intended to get to it before he did. This was the right tank, it seemed. Now, if my hunch was also right, I was about to find $2 million worth of heroin. This was it. I'd found it. Hidden aboard this freighter, tied up now in a West Coast harbor, was a quantity of heroin valued by the criminal underworld at $2 million. I had found the heroin, and I had been trapped in an empty ballast tank with it. It didn't take the crewman who had trapped me very long to decide my fate. He intended to drown me. He didn't know that I had a diving rod with me. Or maybe he did, and figured that he'd keep me in here until my air supply ran out. I couldn't wait to find out. I couldn't wait at all. Unless I got out in the next 30 minutes, I'd have to be dragged out. I took off my gear so I could work more easily. Well, the best knife in the world wouldn't have helped me. What I needed was an acetylene torch. I started to check my tanks. At the rate the water was rising, I'd have to depend on them very soon. I knew what the crewman would expect to see now, floating in this water-filled coffin. I did my best not to disappoint him. I was heading for the dock when I spotted the two men coming aboard. I realized immediately that they were much bigger game than the container of narcotics itself.
Johnny!
Go find him, Tom.
Yes, sir, Mr. D.
Johnny! Hey, Johnny! 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 Hey, Johnny!
Hi! Be with you in a minute!
See Mike yet?
Not yet, but I'm sure he got on. I think he got on the other side, though.
We better get aboard and get him before they find him.
We can't. We gotta wait for him to make the buy first.
Well, that's pretty risky for Mike.
Hi.
Where's Johnny?
Oh, he went ashore.
On ashore?
Yeah. He wants me to handle a deal for him.
Who are you?
My name's Fred.
Must be a good friend of Johnny's.
I guess so.
What's his last name?
What is it, a game? How do I know? He calls me Freddie, I call him Johnny. We just work together, that's all.
You're a deckhand, aren't you?
No, I'm a captain. What's it look like I am?
Tom?
Where's he going?
Oh, he'll be back.
Look, if you don't want to make a buy, it's okay.
But we do.
I know, go get the stuff in.
When we know it's yours to sell.
I found the stuff, Mr. D. And this. And there's no one on the crew less named Fred.
Thank you, Fred. Or whatever your name is. Skin diving equipment. You know, a diver cost us the shipment last month and a couple of my best boys. Diver by the name of Nelson. You, I suppose?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tom, why don't you explain it to him?
What'd he say his name was?
Oh, right there, Mr. D. You too, Tom. Come over here, Tom. Now put your hands behind you, both of you.
We gotta get him to a hospital quick.
How you doing, man?
How you doing?
Well, I felt better. Did you get him?
You bet we did, Mike.
How about the heroin?
That too.
I feel better already.
Good man. Let's go.
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is fun and adventure for young and old, but it can be dangerous. So know the sport well and don't take any chances. Be with you next week for another exciting sea hunt. I was underwater, close to shore, making a visual and photographic survey of a beautiful area. I had been hired by the State Park Commission to study this region carefully to see if it would be suitable for a state park, an underwater park. Time of year when the water was the least clear, I was still getting excellent film of the scenery and the marine life. In fact, I soon used up all the movie film that I had with me. I returned to the job with 2 still cameras in waterproof bags. I brought my sea scooter in order to cover a larger area rapidly. The
more I saw of this underwater paradise and its inhabitants, the more enthusiastic I became. I noted interesting varieties of abalone. Lobsters here, obviously, had a good chance to grow. Schools of unusual fish were plentiful. They maneuvered like a well-trained corps de ballet. But to recommend the area would be a heavy responsibility. Though it seemed perfect for diving, 2 skin divers have been found dead in these waters since the Commission's announcement of its plans. I didn't know that another well-armed diver had chosen me as victim number 3. My assailant believed in hit-and-run tactics. I had to get out of there before he could hit again.
So you tore your hose?
No. It was ripped by that thing. Almost ripped me.
Well, where the devil would a thing like this come from?
Somebody shot it at me.
You're kidding.
No.
Did you see him?
No. It's just his back as he swam away. Look at that thing, huh? You know what that is? That's a swordfish, Bill. Fitted over the end of a regular spear.
Boy, that's way out.
Suppose that he had hit me with this thing, and he took it out of my body afterwards. How would you have thought that I'd been killed?
Well, I figured you tangled with the swordfish and came out second.
That's right. I'm gonna go back down there. Here.
Something sharp.
Cut yourself?
Oh, it's just a scratch.
I'll get something for it.
Oh, it isn't anything.
No trouble, no trouble.
I don't know, Mike. All of a sudden, I feel awfully woozy.
Let me take it close here, boy. Hey, that thumb of yours is really swelling. It's got a hypodermic needle in the end of it.
Suppose it's poison?
I'm gonna treat this as if it were. Squeeze on that, huh? You're poisoned. Bloodstream. Get you to the doctor right away, fella. That's good. Keep that hand down. I raced Billy to a hospital. It was lucky that I did. A few hours later, would have been too late. Meantime, I made a confidential visit to a friend of mine, Captain McMurdy of the state police.
You were right, Mike. The lab report confirmed that the needle in the end of this spear contained poison.
Uh-huh. Well, now, what about those other two divers? The ones whose bodies were found?
Well, the coroner's verdict in each case read accidental death due to drowning.
What do you think now?
Now I'm not so sure. Mike, do you know anybody who'd have any reason to kill you?
No, I don't. Unless it's because I'm the guy that's making a report. Any diver who's been down there would know that it'd have to be a mighty good one.
But who's against the state park? That doesn't make sense.
Somebody's against it. They wouldn't be trying to kill people with that poisoned spear. You know, when that guy missed me, he left in a big hurry. He might have dropped something. You gotta go down and take a look. Might find something.
I'll take you out.
Okay. Oh, on second thought, maybe I better not. If there's a police boat in that area, it might scare them off. I think I better tackle this by myself, huh?
Okay, Mike. We'll try it your way this time. Take care.
Oh, I intend to. McMurdy's fears were not groundless. Even while I prepared to dive, I was being carefully watched. I started with the area where I'd last seen the attacker disappearing. I carefully inspected every foot. If anything at all was to be found, a torn piece of rubber, a discarded bottle, a swim fin, or whatever, I was determined not to miss it. I saw something shiny, but it was just a bright piece of seashell. Each time I moved on, I was careful to watch everything around me. I checked the surface too, but I guess not often enough. Hit like a bombing target.
Fortunately, most of the force had been taken up by my tanks, rather than my head. I looked over the anchor, which had almost taken my life. It had no special marking or anything else that might make it identifiable. When I looked up again, there was nothing in sight. The speedboat just missed me. I'd been very lucky, and in more ways than one. As I made my frantic dive to escape the boat's bow and propeller, I had caught a glimpse of something. Something that might be a break. For the first time, I had a clue. I couldn't wait to get back to shore. This was something that my friends in the state police could go to work on right away.
When that boat tore off, there was a strip on the bottom of it that was a different color from the rest of the wood. I'm sure that it was a recent repair job.
But to check every boat repair establishment in a way that wouldn't arouse the suspicions of the people we're looking for would take a couple of weeks.
Well, that's not good. I'll do the checking. From underwater, looking up. I'll check every single boat mooring around here as far as I can go.
No, Mike, I can't let you operate on your own this time.
I won't have to operate on my own.
Well, I'm not going to agree to anything until I find out what you have in mind.
You'll be able to locate me the same way that the Navy finds its missiles that fall into the water.
Keep on talking.
There's a radio device that fits into the nose cone. Okay, I'll show you how it works. Can I use this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Now, there's the nose cone. The device fits into a little capsule here right next to a small hatch. When the missile hits the water, the device is released, it surfaces, and sends out a signal that the crash boats can home on.
Can you get one of these radio things?
Well, I'm pretty sure I can. Take me about 6 hours to adapt it, though.
Okay, Mike. Go ahead and get one.
We're in business.
My search was long and tiring, but I checked every boat that I could find for miles around, from below, where I could spot that telltale strip of repaired bottom. Just to be sure, I rehearsed the use of the radio device. By the second day of my search, it felt as though I had looked at the keel of every small boat in that entire section. I had just about marked off every mooring location on the map. There were very few places left. One of them was a small island, just a quarter of a mile or so offshore. But its location would put it just inside the new park's boundaries. I'd heard that there were just 1 or 2 luxurious homes on the island. However, there was a dock. I hid my boat in a cove and approached the dock underwater. I heard a motor and surfaced to see a cruiser making for shore. It pulled up at the dock, and its crew began unloading heavy boxes. I slipped in under the boat for a look at the hull. There was no mistaking what I saw. This was it, all right. The same recently patched strip. Then I saw something lying on the bottom. It was a crate just like the ones being unloaded. My guess was that it had fallen overboard. From the looks of it, not long before. It was a slot machine. Suddenly, everything fell into place. The quiet little island was hiding one of those exclusive gambling casinos. But a state park would bring in the state police. It was no wonder they were willing to kill to keep what they had.
See if you can get him from the rocks.
I surfaced to get my bearings again. I was just hoping that I could get back to report what I had seen without being discovered myself. It was already too late for that. I knew how close I came to being killed.
Come on! Come on out, you guys. I got a job for you.
When I heard the boat starting up again, I checked to see where it was heading. It was heading straight for me. If I went deep enough, I'd be safe, I thought. But I still had plenty of air for a long dive and my radio signal device to get McMurdy. McMurdy and his radio operator were trying to pinpoint my emergency signal by triangulation.
We just got a fix on the Channel Islands. We're leaving for there right now. Send all available boats.
that as long as I stayed close to the bottom, I was safe. But when I looked back again, I realized that I was facing a nightmare. The boat had dropped something that I had seen before, but only when it was searching for the bodies of people who had drowned. Grappling hooks. Deadly huge hooks that could rip into flesh with barbs more vicious than the teeth of sharks. It would take every trick I knew to escape them, if I escaped them. I was tiring rapidly, losing the agility that I needed to evade those hooks. I was barely escaping them now. I couldn't keep it up much longer, and I knew it. I was being hauled toward the surface. I could only act instinctively. My fingers raced to release the tank straps. I had to swim as far as I could on that one breath of air. When I surfaced, that would be it. I swam until I could stay down no longer. Whatever was going to happen, would happen. I'm Lloyd Bridges, inviting you to join us for another action-packed story of underwater adventure 1 week from today. Water can slow down a bullet until it becomes harmless in just a few feet. Knowing this has saved my life several times. Lester Crest, who was shooting, was not trying to kill me. We were conducting an unusual experiment. This was the first time that I'd ever been called on to make a scientific study of the way water reduces a bullet's force. I was recording the depth penetration of shots from various types of pistols, rifles, and automatic weapons. most of them of foreign origin. The second man was Greg Andrews. He had a strange accent, and I didn't know any more about him than I did about Les. They had been introduced to me by a man I trusted completely. He had requested that I ask no questions. All he would tell me was that any training or knowledge that I gave these two men would be used for a very good purpose. My curiosity got the better of me. I was dying to know who these two men were and what they were up to. Before long, much sooner than I ever expected, I was to discover how little difference there was between dying to find out and almost dying when you did find out. We had just completed phase 1 of an operation that was still a complete mystery to me. Oh, here you are, gentlemen. Your penetration tables, all typed up.
Good. Is this the only copy?
Yeah, that's the only copy. The main thing that you fellas are trying to find out, I suppose, is the absolute minimum at which you could operate below the surface of the water without danger of being hit from above by light or heavy weapons, isn't that so?
Mr. Nelson, if you're ready, we'd next like to go into the subject of underwater movement by artificial propulsion.
Well, there are various ways. Want to start with the sea scooter first?
Yes, we'd like to test that. The most powerful type.
Oh, there's a new supercharged type just out in the market. I think I can get one here by tomorrow for you.
This afternoon, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, this afternoon.
Oh, Mr. Nelson, I'm sure you can't help wondering why we take the special precautions we do. Why we seem to be impatient to get things going.
Well, since you brought it up, yes, I do wonder.
Well, your curiosity is understandable. However, and you may take my word for it, you may be a lot better off if you don't know. If you never know.
They picked up the knack of handling a sea scooter very quickly. And soon the three of us were doing complicated maneuvers. To push them hard, and I did. Occasionally, we pushed too hard and had to surface in a hurry. I was prepared for that. But I wasn't prepared for the next thing they came up with.
Mike Nelson, Millie Culbertson.
How do you do?
Miss Culbertson?
Miss Culbertson will be with us. Now, Mr. Nelson, we have a very special reason for wanting Miss Culbertson to join us at once, underwater.
Okay, I'll get you a tank. Miss Culbertson, you got a pair of fins and a mask in the car?
No.
Oh, you do know how to dive, don't you? I mean, you know how to use one of these units.
No, I don't.
Well, she'll have to be checked out in the pool before I take her out in the ocean.
We have no time.
That's part of the idea. She has to be underwater with whatever instruction you can give her in 5 minutes.
What do you mean?
5 minutes, no more.
What do you mean she has to be?
She has to be.
Do you realize how dangerous this could be?
Yes. And we know what we're doing.
Oh, no, you don't, or you wouldn't suggest such a thing.
We have no alternative.
I'm to give this girl 5 minutes instructions, then you're going to push her into the ocean?
We're operating under a set of circumstances that will prevail. Now, Mr. Nelson, your friend said we could rely on you. This is a matter of life and death.
Yes, this girl's life.
I'm willing, Mr. Nelson.
It's that important to you?
Yes.
It's that important to all of us.
Well, I've been in a lot of strange deals, but this is well, this stops them all. I could see that Millie was game, but also frightened. She had hit the water with just 5 minutes of instruction, as Les had ordered. I watched her anxiously. She had a great deal of trouble learning to clear the water out of her face mask. She also had trouble clearing her ears. It was obvious that she'd be happier on the surface, but she fought hard to stay with us. This seemed to satisfy both Les and Greg. Now they had other ideas that they weren't prepared to share with me. I had gone into town. Les and Greg weren't expecting me back. I had forgotten a depth gauge that needed repair. When I first saw their boat out on the water, I thought nothing of it. Suddenly I realized that they weren't in it. They were diving on their own, and in an area of very bad currents. That could spell nothing but trouble. I had to get out there and into the water quickly. I plunged below to look for them. And there was Les and Greg, on their own, tackling those currents with their sea scooters. But even worse, with them was Millie, the girl who had had hardly any underwater experience. It was as foolish a stunt as they could have attempted. Greg was towing her as his passenger, but the current was proving too much for him, and for Millie. She lost her hold entirely. Les and Greg didn't even realize it. Millie was at the mercy of the current. I barely caught her. The current tore at us viciously, but I held on to her. Here. This is it, you know. I've had it.
Oh, Mike, it was something we had to do. Something we had to know.
What? What did you have to do? Oh, you and your secrets. Well, I've had it.
Oh, no, wait a minute, Mike. All right, I'll put my cards on the table. Now, for security reasons, we were ordered to do this mission on our own. I can see now we can't get away with it without you. Now, if you want to go along, I think I can clear it with the top brass.
What is this mission?
As you probably guessed, the mission is to rescue a woman. Millie was just a stand-in for her. The woman we have to rescue is his wife.
Please help us, Mike. Please.
Yeah, Mike, if you decide to go along with us, I'll give you a thorough briefing. I won't hold anything back.
Well, I guess it's one way to find out what this is all about. Okay. I had been training an underwater unit, 2 men, for a mysterious rescue mission of some kind, which had been kept a secret even from me. Now they were prepared to reveal it, because they wanted me to join in the mission. Bogdanovich, gee, I've heard of that name before.
Sure you have. Greatest voice in Eastern Europe for freedom.
That's right.
Well, now our voice is being stifled in a concentration camp. We've got good reason to believe that she'll be shot pretty soon. All right, now. The prison camp is located on the shore of a deep inlet that leads back from a bay on the coast of a very small little country here. The country's so small, it's practically been forgotten by everybody. But it's still in the iron grip of the men who seized it many years ago. Now, our entrance from the sea will be through here, where the gap narrows and the currents are the strongest. Within the inlet, the camp is on one shore, the hospital's on the opposite shore. When anyone gets sick, they transport them from the camp across to the hospital in a launch. Our job is to get into this inlet undetected, which means underwater. Intercept the launch on the day that Magda gets the message telling her to be in it, and make a break for the sea, taking Magda with us.
Oh, that sounds like a tough one.
Yeah. What makes it tougher is the gap area we have to pass through into the sea is under constant patrol.
Oh, that's not too much of a problem, I don't think, if we stay deep enough. But stopping that boat, how do you propose to do that?
Foul up the rudder and propellers with the net we bring in with us? Oh, what do you think of it, Mike?
Well, you fellas have done a great job of planning this thing, but I don't think that's the way to stop that boat.
It's the best we could come up with.
Look, what do you think of this idea? You say they cross from here over to the hospital.
Right.
We'll be coming in from this direction here, In less than a week, the operation was on. Our approach was in an amphibian, just skimming the wave tops, duck under coastal radar. We were dropped at sea within striking distance of the bay and its inlet. We had all of our equipment with us, including pistols and plastic bags, and the sea scooters. We also had a new piece of equipment, a dummy dressed in the uniform of a captain of the guards. Prison launch was leaving its dock at 3:35, exactly on schedule. By 3:41, we were in the inlet itself, directly below the course that would be taken by the launch. We were preparing to put our plans into action, watching the time like human clocks. We had one big break. The launch was going to have to cross the foggy area. We could make out the launch coming in our direction. I could only hope that my scheme for stopping it would work. We let the dummy float to the surface. my trick. Now we had to make the most of it. Les was manipulating the dummy, keeping it just out of reach of the guards. Greg and I disabled the propellers. What we'd be able to do on board was anybody's guess. Save that for later. Come on, Greg, come on. I had to teach Magna Androvich how to use a diving lung in less than a minute. Even under ideal conditions, this wouldn't be easy. We still hadn't been noticed by the two guards at the bow. We had to be quiet. Magna's English wasn't very good, but she knew that her life depended on using the lung. We hit the water at 3:56, 2 minutes ahead of our schedule. Our attack had been successful. Now we had something even harder to accomplish: our escape. Something was wrong with one of our scooters. It looked as if one of the blades had been bent. I sent Greg and Magna ahead. Les and I remained to work the scooter. I was wondering if we should abandon it. The guards in the launch were zeroing in on us. Les hit the guard as he attacked. He disarmed him of his bayonet. The bayonet was exactly the pry bar that I needed to straighten the propellers. A general alarm was being sounded along the shore installation. Greg and Magna were already being fired on from the shore. Les and I joined them as quickly as we could, but we were already behind schedule. I signaled to them to continue staying as close to the bottom as possible. Our studies of bullet penetration were paying off now as we had planned. We had something in store for us, though, that we hadn't planned. Grenades. There was nothing to do but keep on, hoping that we could stand the concussion. At last, we were moving out of range. It was 4:30 when we reached the open sea and began to move to the surface. Our amphibian was to wait for us only until 4:35. Then, for the protection of its crew, it was to make its own escape, whether we were there or not. The amphibian was still waiting, 3 minutes after its planned departure time. We were flying out to safety and to freedom.
Hi there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is certainly a lot of fun, and it's full of adventure. See some more of it again next week, huh? When there'll be another excursion into that fabulous underwater world of sea hunt.
It started in the tropical waters of the Hawaiian Islands. I was running a series of operational tests for a manufacturer. Tests on underwater photography with both motion picture and television cameras. The water was exceptionally warm. This was bringing in large amounts of plankton, cutting down the visibility. But the plankton were bringing in many beautiful fish for me to photograph. Suddenly I realized that they were bringing in something else, too. Sharks. I figured as long as the sharks were after the fish, that I'd be safe. I kept my camera cranking. This was a rare opportunity to photograph these vicious man-eaters. More sharks were moving in now. They kept circling, but their circles around me were getting smaller. They were moving faster and faster, too, never taking their cold eyes off of me. Somehow I began to sense a change in the mood. They were coming terribly close now. I knew I had to get back to shallower water and the pier in a hurry. When I reached the pier, a message was waiting for me. Come up. With the sharks not far behind me, I didn't need an invitation to get out of the water. But what I was coming up to was going to prove an even greater threat to my life than the sharks had been.
You send that slate down?
Yes. Lieutenant Dave Calicour, Mr. Nelson.
Looks like I'm surrounded. Am I getting a ticket?
I'm the one who came to see you, Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, let me introduce you to Sandra A. Tommy.
See Tommy?
Call me Sandy, Mike.
Prettiest policeman I've ever seen.
I'm not even a policewoman. Come aboard, I'll show you who I am here.
Manu! Hey, what? Thank you.
You probably don't know this island, Nalua.
Nalua? No, I don't think I do.
I own it. We raise one crop on Nalua, pearls.
Oh, cultured pearls, huh?
Yes, I've got quite a problem. You see, my pearl beds lie just off the island. You can almost see them from the beach. And still, in the last month, someone's been stealing my pearls.
Skin divers, scuba divers?
Probably. But I can't move until I have evidence. Witnesses, proof.
When I heard you were testing underwater cameras, I had an idea. I want to borrow one of your cameras so I can go down and photograph the thieves.
No, that's too dangerous.
I pay you for the camera.
It's not dangerous for the camera, it's dangerous for you.
You've got to understand, Mike. I need that camera badly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sandy. Can't let you have it. Not unless I went with it. You understand, don't you?
Yes, I understand.
What do you mean?
I do understand.
Oh, you mean you want me to go with it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's not waste any more time.
She looked exotic and sounded like an Oriental pixie. She was also a very bright, shrewd businesswoman. She insisted on showing me the pearl beds herself. In a few minutes, we reached the pearl beds. The pearl oysters were arranged on racks, and I could see how they'd be easy to rob, if you could get at them undetected. Sandy showed me where the robbery had taken place. She got angry all over again when she saw what had happened to her pearl oysters.
I get the picture, all right. A scuba diver could just hit and run.
With a small fortune. Some of those pearls have been growing for 30 years.
30 years? Oh, that's a long time for a pearl oyster to be irritated like that. Hey, tell me, what do you put inside of an oyster to begin with? I mean, to force a pearl to grow.
Ah, that's a secret. Cultured pearls were invented by Agent Young in the city of Tetson in the 13th century. Ever since, people have tried to find out how it's done. And my grandfather learned how in Japan. And it's still a secret.
Okay, I just asked.
Well, I'm sorry, Mike. I feel it's, well, a sort of a family trust. But I make it up to you with the best dinner you ever ate. How about it, huh?
Glad I asked.
I was beginning to like Sandy more and more, and I hoped that I could catch her thieves for her. Starting tomorrow morning, I'd set my photographic trap. The next morning, I was watching the waters off Malua for any sign of divers. I was surprised to see a boat moving in fairly close to the island. I kept out of sight as I watched. The boat continued on past me without stopping. What I couldn't see was what was going on the other side of the boat. Then I spotted something. Bubbles. It dawned on me that the boat must have dropped scuba divers as it went by. I got into my fins, grabbed my camera, and got into the water as fast as I could. I'd figured it right. They were on their way to the pearl beds. I ducked behind the rock. They headed right for the racks. was time to start taking pictures. They made a beautiful shot. For me, for Sandy, and for the police. But I was being careless. I was paying no attention to the fact that my camera motor was making a lot of noise. When one of them swam off, I thought that he was hunting more pearls. I was getting all the evidence anybody could ask for, complete and perfect. Then, the roof fell in. While the first diver grappled with me, the second ripped the film from the camera. The sound of the approaching boat scared the two thieves away, but I was too weak to move, and the air was draining from my tank. Sandy's concern for me had brought her to the surface above the pearl beds, where I was half drowning after being overpowered by two thieves.
Take this, Mike.
Oh, thank you. Oh. Oh, brother. Yeah, I don't want any more of this. I'm okay.
Okay, you almost drowned yourself down there.
They gave you a rough time down there, Mike.
Oh, all right, Dave. Yeah, that's putting it mildly. What are you doing here?
Sandy radioed to us, but before we could get here, their boat was out of sight.
I got a feeling that they're going to be back.
You kidding?
Nope.
Well, that'd be a pretty stupid thing to do. They must know you'd notify the police.
Not if they thought they drowned me. They'll be back as soon as they think it's safe.
Let them have the pearls. They're not worth your life.
Thank you, Sandy. Didn't think you cared. But I'm not doing this for you anymore. I'm doing it for myself.
No.
I got a personal grudge to settle with them. Dave, I got an idea. But I'll need your help.
You got it. What's on your mind?
I'm going to make those two greedy characters famous. I'm going to put them on TV.
Dave cooperated in a hurry. His men brought in my television equipment. By next morning, it was installed, including a monitor screen on the police launch. The launch itself was anchored in a cove out of sight of the pearl beds.
Hey, that's a good picture.
I think that's about as sharp as I can get it. Watch this pan shot now, huh?
Hey, Sandy, come here and have a look.
Oh, it's me.
Televised for the first time. The prettiest girl on Nalua.
The only girl on Nalua. Mike, I've been thinking, I still don't like it.
Stop worrying, will you? I think it's a pretty ingenious plan myself. While a crime is being committed, the law is going to be watching every move that's being made.
That's right. This is really one for the books. And the next time they show up, we'll get them for sure.
But what if they get you first?
Relax. And keep your eye on that monitor.
Mike, good luck.
I'll never have any better luck.
He just got there.
Funny. It's so peaceful down there. Now.
The same boat that I had spotted the day before was not far from Nalua. This time, all three members of the crew were preparing to dive and to deal with anything that they might run into. I was ready to return to the police launch when I saw them. They were swimming right into the trap that I'd set, but they were coming from the wrong direction. They were not in range of the television camera. As far as the people on the police launch were concerned, they were not visible.
peaceful down there. He's probably relaxing, enjoying the view.
My only chance was to maneuver them in front of the TV camera. Somehow I had to turn them around, move them in the other direction.
On the double! Hit it!
I never thought that I'd see the day when a couple of Hawaiian policemen in swimming trunks would look just like angels. But this was it. And I could thank Dave and his assistant for my life.
Well, this is your last chance for a free trip back to Honolulu.
You can just stop it, Dave. Mike is staying right here until he's well.
That's right. After all, I'm due for a vacation.
So you're going to have one.
Wish I had a pretty girl to underwrite my vacation. But nobody loves a cop.
Don't you cry now, Dave boy. When you want a testimonial, you come to me and I'll give it to you in my best handwriting.
I have a testimonial for you, Mike.
Oh?
But not in writing.
What do you mean? Well, that's the best testimonial I ever got in my life. See you, Dave. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is fun and adventure for young and old, but it can be dangerous. So know the sport well and don't take any chances. Be with you next week for another exciting sea hunt.